Hi, this is Ann V. Brady, and I will be reading an excerpt from Chapter 11 of my book, A New Beginning, the story of my adoption, life, and service, illustrated by Eric C. Brady. Chapter 11. We checked into a hotel in San Antonio near Fort Sam Houston for the night. The next day, I signed in off of leave so I could process in and get to housing. I signed in at housing and transportation. We needed to find a house to rent and let transportation know about our household goods being delivered by the moving company. We needed to know when our household goods would be delivered. We found a house in Royal Ridge Housing Development. We had great neighbors. After we had settled in, I took leave because my school didn't start for another month. We got the boys enrolled in the public school. There was a Catholic church nearby. the, excuse me. The 91K Advanced MLT course was part of AMED, Army Medical Education Department. It was a year-long course. The first half of the year was all classroom and study. We studied immunology, hematology, chemistry, etc. The second half of the year was our internship at Brooke Army Medical Center, BAMC. We had to rotate through the blood bank, chemistry, microbiology, phlebotomy, and urinalysis. We had tests to pass and evaluations to pass. We also had to do PT every morning during the week. The classes were taught to both Army and Navy personnel in the same classroom. I enjoyed it, though the PT was tough. During spring and winter, the mountain cedar and mountain oak caused me problems during the run portion of PT. I had to go to the hospital to be checked out. I was put on antibiotics and on other medicine. The doctor said that my whole mouth was coated with pollen. I was told that I had a non allergic reaction to the pollen. We spent a lot of time with Mike and Peggy. They were great friends. Mike was retired Army. The boys enjoyed school and M&M. And Peanut enjoyed the backyard. I kept in shape by running around the neighborhood so I could pass the APFT test. The roads in the housing development were not flat, but were hilly and had a lot of curves. We decided to take the boys to see the Alamo. We were amazed at how small it was. We also went to the Riverwalk. It's beautiful, and there are a lot of stores to shop in. The class was hard on some students, and other students had attitudes. Some teachers made the classes interesting, and others were so boring we struggled to stay awake. our, im- our immunology class teacher was a very boring teacher. We found a Catholic church near us and went every Sunday. One Sunday Mass, the parish priest made his sermon about a 3-year-old child having to go to the bathroom during communion prayers from the previous Mass. He talked about how it distracted him. He berated the mother for disrupting him saying the Mass. After Mass, Ed and I discussed the priest's actions. We both felt it was wrong for the priest to have made an issue out of a child who had to go to the bathroom. We figured the child was potty training and the parents didn't want the child to have an accident at Mass. When we arrived at home, Ed wrote a letter to the priest and signed it. Ed felt the priest needed to be more accommodating and not try to embarrass anyone. Ed mailed the letter to the priest. The priest sent back a letter to Ed and told him that because he wasn't Catholic, he shouldn't be criticizing. He told him to keep his opinions to himself. This was the last time we went to that church. One day, our company first sergeant passed out a flyer advertising a special company run to raise money. It was being held during the class time. We were told we could sign up, and if we signed up and paid $20, we would get a free run t shirt. Nobody from the class signed up as we didn't want to miss classes. 2 days, 2 days later, we were told the class was going to have to sign up for the company run as it was mandatory. We were upset to say the least. We all signed up and paid the fee. Several days later, we were told that we didn't have to run and we still received the t shirt. They had gotten enough people to enter the run and make enough money. We were happy that we didn't have to miss a day of class. One day, after coming back to class after lunch, a fellow student told me that an officer had come to the classroom looking for me. She asked me if I knew any officers in a school down here. I told her no. A young female officer entered the classroom and addressed me. I had never seen her before, yet she knew my name. It was my cousin Chrissy. She said, "Don't you recognize me?" I told her no. She then told me she was my cousin Chrissy. I told her that I didn't recognize her because the last time I saw her, she was 10 years old. I saw her before I left for basic training. She was taking a class there and saw me one day and recognized me. One morning we woke to find that Eminem had died in his sleep during the night. He was 13 years old. It was a sad day for all of us. In some ways, it was a mercy as he had a bad back and arthritis. The second half of our school was an internship in Brooke Army Medical Center Laboratory. I passed all my classes, so I was able to advance to the laboratory portion of the course. We wrote We rotated through different departments of the laboratory. I started in the blood bank department. We were taught how to type blood by testing for antigens. First, we tested for the major blood types A, B, AB, and O. We had to test for hepatitis and B and other diseases such as HIV. We had to test for Rh factor and other antigens such as Lewis antigen. We helped on one of the blood drives. We were trained how to give the questionnaire and perform the copper sulfate flotation test. You have to drop a drop of the person's blood into copper sulfate. If the drop floats, they have low hemoglobin and low hematocrit. This means they can't donate blood. If the drop sinks, they're able to donate blood. We then rotated through special chemistry, hematology, PT, APTT testing, and phlebotomy. We also rotated through parasitology, microbiology, DNA testing for microbes. We finally graduated. Below is a picture of me receiving my diploma. The head of the school and myself are both in uniforms. The next one is a picture of our graduating class, the Army graduating class. The next picture is a picture of the graduating class with the cadre. We're all in our uniforms. In the last two pictures, one is of a cake for our reception after we graduated, and the last picture is a picture of the program, the outside, the front page and the back page. After graduation, we had to out process. We had already been asked where we wanted to be transferred to and asked to give them three posts in order to of most to least. I remembered that I asked for Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Fort Rucker, Alabama, and Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I figured that I wouldn't get my first or third choice. That was why I picked Fort Rucker for my second choice. I was going to USERL, the United States Army Aeromedical Research Laboratory. It looked like it was something that I hadn't done before. Also, before graduation, all the students were offered a chance to take advantage of a new Army program, early retirement. It was offered to soldiers that had 16 or more years in service. You could retire immediately at a lower rate than what you would get if you waited until you had 20 years to retire. Several soldiers took the early retirement. I decided that I wanted to go for the full 20 years. I signed out of Fort Sam Houston with my orders for Fort Rucker, Alabama. Before we left for Alabama, I looked up information on Fort Rucker. I discovered they had a lake on post. I figured it would be a great place to take the boys for the summer. I was also looking forward to doing a different kind of research, safety research for helicopters and pilots. The students were given leave so they could make it to their next assignment. We went to transportation to have a household goods transported to Fort Rucker. We packed the car with what we were taking with us and headed for Alabama. Along the way, we stopped for food, drinks, gas, and bathroom breaks for us and Peanut. As we were traveling, We came upon signs forewarning us that we would be approaching the Atchafalaya Basin Bridge. The signs, the, the signs warned about the bridge being long and to stop for food, drinks, and the signs warned about the bridge being long and to stop for food, drinks, and the bathroom. You couldn't turn around on the bridge or get off of it until the bridge ended. It was a long ride on the bridge, even enjoying looking at the swamp. I sometimes felt like the bridge would never end. We finally made it to Fort Rucker and stayed in a hotel in Daleville, Alabama. Well, thank you for listening to me, and that's all for today. Have a happy Thursday. Have a wonderful day and a great weekend. Hopefully, you'll buy my book at Amazon.com. Look for Ann V. Brady on Amazon and you'll find my books.